Hello, this is Chuck Ridgway, Automation Technology Manager at Horner. Thanks for joining us for another Tuesday live stream. Except it's a Tuesday live stream, not on Tuesday. Man, we've had some internet issues this week, and I apologize for the delay in today's video. But let's not despair. We've got a good topic for you. Here it is. Get started with OCS 360. So OCS 360 is the new cloud service from Horner. And all this month and well into next month, we're going to give you everything you need to know to find out if it's something you should take advantage of. And today we've got a special guest who you'll see a good part of this month to discuss OCS 360. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive right into today's topic. Okay, we're going to start out by giving you just a couple of slides to tell you what is OCS 360. We want to make sure you're up to speed a little bit before we dive right in. Then we'll talk about the requirements for OCS 360. What software versions, what products, what firmware versions, what do you need? We'll review the OCS 360 subscription plans, and we'll answer the question, can I try it out? And what are the parameters for the trial? And then primarily through demonstration, we're going to demonstrate how to sign up for OCS 360, how to add an OCS to your account. Of course, you can add many, and how to send data from an OCS. Okay, well, I'm going to bring in Don Clutterbuck. Don is our go-to guy at Horner on OCS 360. And Don is going to be with me a good part of the month as we talk about OCS 360. How are we doing today, Don?
We're doing fantastic.
Awesome.
Exciting day for Horner today.
Absolutely. So one question I had, okay, let's start here. So why are we developing, or why did we develop OCS 360? Aren't there enough cloud platforms out there from other folks?
Sure. There's a couple reasons. Our customers are small to medium OEMs, and they asked Horner to come up with some sort of mechanism to collect data. That was the number one reason, right? And the OCS 360 came to be, and the way we're structuring it, and you'll find out from the webinars and so forth that we're making it extremely easy for Horner customers to collect data. That's the number one reason. The second reason is Phil and I believe AI will be a big portion of things to come in the automation space. And before you do anything with AI, you need data, and it's all about data. So it's fairly easy to use OCSs with OCS 360 for cloud data collection. The third reason is that many of our customers don't have the resources, people, money, time to implement one of those other third-party uh, programs like Ignition and so forth. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for our customers to do that.
So after hearing that answer, I think I know the answer to my next question, and that is data is really the primary benefit of OCS 360 at this stage, you think?
There's two things.
Okay.
There's data, which we will collect up to 2 to 5 years, depending on the subscription. And it's your data and so forth, and you'll be able to extract it anytime you want, in any time period you want. And the second thing is visualization. We are dashboards. We create dashboards to give you that 30,000-foot level of what's going on with your process. So we use that data to populate trend charts, analog gauges, temperature gauges, a variety of different things that you can display what your process is actually doing.
Okay. So, all right. So I hear data recording. I hear dashboarding. What other functions are available in OCS 360 as we launch?
As we launch, there'll be alerting, meaning you can send alerts or alarms or any event, if you call it that way, either SMS over your phone through emails, or you will get notifications on the screen that tells you have an alarm.
Okay.
We'll be able to extract data, data log it, and so forth. We store it. mobile capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able to use your phone to view the dashboards.
Mm-hmm.
And I played around with it somewhat, and it looks pretty good.
Nice.
So those are the main things that we're doing right now.
Okay. And then as we move forward, there are things that I know we're going to be adding to OCS 360 that aren't there now. What are some examples?
Correct. The major one is, and this is a request from our customers also,
Mm-hmm.
especially those using WebMI
Mm-hmm.
and trying to connect remotely to their controllers
Mm-hmm.
through some sort of third-party security device. I'll just put it that way. That
Mm-hmm.
is really hard to configure. We are working on using the OCS 360 cloud as the security feature of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you will allow computers, laptops to hook up to a controller, monitor the data, download, upload either program and or firmware,
Mm-hmm.
and use Cscape, but also use WebMI to go out and do this. One question we will get asked: does this replace WebMI?
Right.
It has the functionality of it,
Right.
but if you just want WebMI,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you can still use it. But OCS, you sign in through the cloud and see your process. So
Right. So if all you're looking to do really in the future is replicate your machine screens, you'll be able to use OCS 360 in combination with WebMI to do that. So WebMI screens,
yes,
instead of being, hosted by the local OCS exclusively, they'll be available from OCS 360, which obviously will provide more bandwidth and the ability for more people to log on and all those sorts of things. Okay, very good.
that's the wish.
Okay,
that's the wish.
That's where we're headed. Okay, very good. So last question, when will customers be able to sign up for OCS 360?
As we broadcast this webinar, you will be able to do it today.
Excellent.
We're releasing it tomorrow. There's on Horner Automation website, there's an OCS 360 site. It will explain the subscription programs
Mm-hmm.
that we have available and how to sign up and so forth. So
Awesome.
it's very easy. It'll take you 5 minutes or less to sign up to have OCS 360.
Awesome. And for those folks who are interested in more details on the OCS 360 plans, check out the recording of the webinar we did yesterday, the launch webinar. All the details are in there, and there's other things that we didn't cover today, or we won't be covering today, that you'll be able to find from a detail standpoint. Thanks a bunch, Don.
Correct. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week. Well, we talked about with Don what is OCS 360, but let's just go through a couple slides to make sure we all know what we're talking about here. Okay, so it's a new cloud service from Horner, and really just like Don mentioned, the whole goal is to make it as easy as possible to send data to the cloud, a Horner cloud, from a Horner controller. And the functions that we talked about with Don included data recording for up to 5 years, dashboarding and visualization, as well as remote alarm annunciation and notifications. And we talked about some features that will be coming in the future as well. Now, to kind of demonstrate visually what we were talking about with Don in terms of the way data is sent to the cloud from the OCS, we use what's called MQTT, a special version of MQTT, for the OCS to, in a very lightweight fashion, push the data up to the OCS 360 cloud through what's called an MQTT broker server. Now, most of the data will be published by the OCS. In other words, it'll be processed data and other machine data that's native to the OCS, but there can also be some data that comes back the other direction from OCS 360. Maybe some set points, maybe some manual overrides, those sorts of things. And getting variables up to the cloud couldn't be easier. Literally all you do, and we talked about it with Don, is go to your program variable table and check a checkbox next to each variable that you want to send to OCS 360. Now let's talk about the requirements, because this is new. So you will need Cscape 10.1, okay? Not Service Pack 1, but Cscape 10.1. So look for that to hit the web any day now if it hasn't already, and that's the version you're going to need. Next, you're going to need either a Canvas or Prime controller, and that controller is going to need firmware version 17.10 or later. So that means you're going to have to check the web for that as well. If you're watching this around the time we made the video, then you're going to have to upgrade the firmware in your unit if you've already got it. If you're watching this, weeks or months later, it's possible your controller may already have this firmware version. And then since your OCS is going to be pushing data to the OCS360 cloud, which is over the internet, you're going to have to make sure that there's a path for the data to get to the internet, whether that's over a wired connection, a Wi-Fi connection, or a cellular connection. It doesn't really matter as long as the OCS has internet access. And then OCS360 is a web browser-based service. So of course, you're going to need a web browser, whether it's on your computer, which is probably where you'll do a lot of your work, especially for setup. But it could also be on your cell phone because you can look at OCS360 dashboards and things from your cell phone as well. And then of course, you're going to need an OCS360 subscription. All right, now let's talk about those OCS360 plans. Now, each of these is by the year, okay? You don't pay by the month, you pay by the year. And we have 3 different levels. We have silver, gold, and platinum. And it all comes down to, literally, the differentiators are primarily all about how much data per minute are you going to be pushing per controller to the OCS cloud, okay, to the OCS360. So at the silver level, a couple lines down on that chart there, you see it's 250 variables per minute. Doesn't matter whether it's Boolean variables or floating point or anywhere in between. A variable is a variable. So 250 variables per minute. With gold, that's doubled to 500 variables per minute. And with platinum, it's 1,000 variables per minute. All right. And then we've got the pricing there on the bottom. So you can see that as well. And one thing to keep in mind is, regardless of which plan that you want to try out, you have the ability to try them all out. Okay, so all of the OCS360 plans, silver, gold, or platinum, can be used for 90 days with full functionality. So not a, crippled version or a special free version. It's the full version you can use for up to 90 days before your credit card is charged. Or, of course, you can cancel your subscription at that point as well. So you've got a great opportunity here when you're ready to go ahead and try out OCS360. But I think as Don mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you've got the controller in your hands that you want to try out. You've got Cscape 10.1 available and that you've got firmware upgraded on your OCS controller before you start your trial. No sense in signing up too soon. You might as well wait until you can actually test it out. Okay, so the rest of our program today is going to be all about the demonstrations. Let's dive into that now. Okay, let's sign up for OCS360. All right, so let's open up a new window and go to OCS360.cloud. Now, I'm not going to use my normal credentials, the ones that I normally use to log into the Horner website. I'm going to use different credentials because I'm going to kind of follow the approach where we've got a separate email address that we're going to use as a company with my colleagues to manage OCS360. So instead of going to log in, I'm going to create a new account. And then all this information has to be valid, of course. So let's go ahead and do that. Fill all the details. Okay, then I hit sign up. All right, let's maximize our window here so we can see what we're signing up for. I'm going to sign up for 2 OCSs with the silver plan. Okay, now it's okay for the trial period to sign up for more than what you think you need, as long as you get in touch with us before the trial period ends after 90 days to make sure you've only got the number of OCSs you really need tied to your account, so you're only paying for what you need. Okay, so I'm going to sign up for 2 on the silver plan. Okay, how did I hear about us? Let's say I heard from my distributor or rep. I'm going to give my local rep name here, okay, and my contact person. By doing that, you not only have support from Horner, but you're also getting support locally as well, which is important, right? You want to have an advocate who can help you if you need it locally. All right, so we're going through the terms and conditions. We've got to scroll to the bottom here before we can accept them. Okay, and we'll hit accept. And then we'll press proceed. Okay, so we've reached the next part of our process, and now we can fill in the payment details. Okay, now I've filled in my payment information, and I'll hit checkout. Okay, so we're complete with this portion of the sign up. Now all we need to do is check the email that we used when we signed up to go ahead and finish the process. Okay, I've received my email. Let's go ahead and activate my account. Okay, this is where I create a new password. Oh, got to make sure you have at least one special character and one uppercase character. Okay, so let's correct that. And create our password. All right, now we're in. For the next part of our demo, we're going to Cscape, where I have created an application, just a regular application. Of course, it's a demo application, so customers can use it if they choose. But basically what I have here is I just have two variables here on this screen. I've got a pressure variable, which is an integer from 0 to 100 pounds per square inch. And I have a temperature, which is a floating point variable. Okay, and we're going to send these two variables to OCS360, to the OCS360 cloud. Now for demonstration purposes, these are just, regular global variables that aren't tied to any particular real world analog input or anything. So keep that in mind. This is just for demonstration purposes. In your application, almost certainly you would have a combination of variables that are real world inputs as well as internal variables that you've used in your program. Okay, on the right here, I have the OCS360 status information that is just included with OCS360. And basically that's about it. I do have, you'll notice over here, a clear certificates button. That's something you should never have to use, but if you have communication problems with OCS360, one of the options is to clear the certificates and power cycle the unit after you've done that, and away you go. So when you press this clear certificates button, what happens is this push button is pressed, and then one of the bits in the OCS360 control word that's part of OCS360 status gets set, and that causes the certificates to be cleared, and then it kind of goes through the negotiation period again with the certificates. But hopefully that's something you'll never have to use. Okay, so how do we actually get these two variables or any other variable that we have in our program up to the OCS360 cloud? Well, let's go into our program variable window here. Okay, so I'm pulling this up. I'll give it a little more space on the screen here so we can see it a little better. And I'll make it a little bit bigger again so we can see it a little bit better. All right, so let's open up global variables. And I'm going to scroll down to those two variables I was talking about. Pressure, which is an integer, and temperature, which is a real value. Okay? All right, and then I also have a variable called OCS360 stat, which is tied to the OCS360 status registers structure so that we have all that status information available to us very easily. Okay, so the only thing literally that I have to do to get temperature and pressure up to the OCS360 cloud is go over here to this new column called OCS360 and check this checkbox. What happens there now is that these two variables, since I've checked them, have been added to the default group of data that is pushed to OCS360 once per minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and close down our variable window and head over here to our project navigator. And if we look under networking at the bottom, we'll find OCS360. So let's double click here. And sure enough, this is our OCS360 configuration and our default group, okay, which is published data. You'll see that pressure and temperature have been added here, and they will truly be published every 60 seconds. Okay, so that's literally all there is to it. And because, of course, this is a Horner unit talking to the Horner cloud, we should be good to go. Now, one other thing we need to check, though. Since we are going out over the internet to talk to OCS360, we're going to need to make sure that our hardware configuration for the Ethernet port that we're using, that it has a valid gateway and a valid DNS server. Okay, so the gateway is obviously the address on my local network here that gets us out to the internet. And then the DNS server, this particular one is a Google DNS server that will allow OCS360, will allow the OCS to find OCS360 just using the URL. Okay, so we do have to make sure that we have a gateway and DNS server properly assigned. And I typically always use either 8.8.8.8 or 8.8.4.4, an external DNS server. And that always seems to work the best. And those both are from Google. Okay, so that should be all we need to do to start communicating to OCS360. I'll go ahead and download this project to my OCS right now. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is make a note of the MAC address of my OCS that I'm going to be adding to OCS360. And there's a couple different ways I can do that. I'm going to do that from the system menu under networks. Okay, and this happens to be a prime unit here. Okay, and you'll see that the MAC address is located right there. So I'm going to make a note of that because I'll need that when I sign up for OCS360. Okay, we're back here in OCS360. The next step is to add our OCS as a device in OCS360 under our account. So I'm going to go to Entities and find Devices. There are obviously none here yet. I'll hit the plus sign. I need to give it a convenient name. That'll be, you can call it a location, whatever makes sense in your application. I'm going to call this Epoxymatic. Okay, and we'll capitalize the M, if that's the name of the machine. And then this is where we need to type in that MAC address. So I'll continue that on. Hit confirm MAC address. We'll add that controller. Okay, so it adds it, and it's not yet active yet. So it's going to start out by showing inactive. Okay, I just power cycled my controller with the program in it. Okay, so hopefully we'll just start publishing data. You can see our certificate status is 8193. Ultimately, we want that to get down to 0. Okay, let's go ahead and get some data that we can actually view there. Oh, now we're publishing data and our certificate status is truly 0. Excellent. Let me input some data to the temperature as well. So that's great. So this is what we want to see. We want to see our OCS360 control at 1, our certificate status at 0, and we want to see our publishing count incrementing up. Okay, so that's truly what we do want to see. Okay, let's go take a look at what things look like on the OCS360 side of things. Okay, great. We're showing active here. That's what we want. All right. If you aren't getting an update here on from inactive to active, one thing you can try is just hit the refresh button and OCS360 will refresh that status. Okay, now if we want to take a look at the latest data that's been transmitted from the OCS, we simply click on the device and make sure we've got latest telemetry selected, and then we can see the latest values that were published by the OCS. Excellent. Okay, so we're good to go. All right, we have effectively gotten started with getting OCS360 up and running from the standpoint of we signed up for OCS360 as a service. We got a program in our OCS so we could start publishing data, and we added that OCS to OCS360, and here are the results. Okay, well that does it for our topic for today. There's lots of ways to interact with Horner online on our website at hornerautomation.com, on our Horner APG YouTube channel, and on LinkedIn. All right, if you didn't catch our public launch webinar, which took place this past Monday, then don't miss it. You can go back to our website and watch a copy of that. Quite a bit of different information was covered in that webinar than we covered today. So I think it'll be worth your while. And of course, you can always skip forward and backwards if you need to get the information you're looking for. All of February and well into March, we're going to be covering OCS360, and February is definitely OCS360 month. So check out the topics. You're going to definitely want to try out OCS360 probably way early in the month, but as you work with it, you're going to have plenty of technical information to help you take advantage of it. Okay, next week specifically, we won't be covering, kind of a how-to type topic with OCS360. We're going to dive into it a little more deeply and talk about how it actually works under the hood. So that should be a really interesting topic. Don't forget to join us. Okay, well, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, don't hesitate to do so. It doesn't cost anything. And if you choose notifications when you subscribe, you'll be notified every time we go live and every time we post a new video. So until next week, hopefully on a Tuesday, let's all get out there and do us some good.